That's a better light right there. That's better.
Let's try it again. Let's try it again. Shalom, here we go. Let's try it again. Y'all gotta understand we are far from civilization, right? Can y'all hear me? Tap in some sevens if you could hear me. There we go. I don't remember feeling bad. When I went to get those labs, I almost didn't go, right? Because I wasn't big on the doctor at all. You know, it been forever since I gone anywhere near any type of checkup or any. I didn't do those kind of things. You know, and I remember feeling like I'm gonna just go. You know, you set it up. And used to set them up all the time, and I just miss them on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I said, let me go. And I went. And it was like a few days after that, by the time they got my labs back, was when I was moving the shop, right?
Yeah.
I was putting the shop in storage in the hot summer sun in that hot truck, in that steel truck, in that heat that made the truck like an oven.
It was like 100 degrees out.
Maybe more than that. 102. Something like that. And you know, I didn't get good sleep the night before. I was up and down all night. And I remember feeling tired when I woke up. I got up and it was like I hadn't even been asleep. I was tired. But I had already loaded up the truck. It was full of stuff. So I just jumped in the truck, drove to the storage, started unloading the truck. And I remember I was having to sit down like every 2 pieces. I moved 2 pieces and I fall into the seat, you know, and just and rest for 5 minutes or so. And I thought it was the heat. I thought it was not being tired, but my body was shutting down. I was dying there, you know. Did the worst thing you could do in that situation with dealing with kidneys. I was drinking coffee, you know, but that coffee was what was giving me the power to go back and get 2 more pieces, you know. So I hit the coffee and then I go back. And I knew I needed that coffee too. I was actually a tea person, but dragging like that, some tea wasn't gonna get it. So yeah, I was on coffee that morning. And I was halfway through moving the truck, emptying out the truck, when, you know, the call came. And it was you talking about what the doctor told you.
Mm-hmm.
What they tell you.
First they said that they had tried to call you and you weren't answering your phone.
like I never do.
And so they called. The nurse told the doctor we can't get a hold of him. And the doctor, Dr. Wright, he told her, uh, get a hold of his wife. And she said, well, we don't have authorization to call her with this information. They hadn't had your consent on paper. And he said, I don't care what you say. He said, I got a verbal from him in the office before. Call his wife now. So she called me and she said, he needs to come to the hospital immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Stop whatever you're doing and get him to the hospital. And I said, okay. And I called you and I told you what they said. They said something came back on your labs and you needed to get to the hospital immediately or you could die. And your response was, okay, let me finish unloading this U-Haul. Let me finish unloading this U-Haul first. Gotta take the U-Haul back. It's due back today. And you did all of that and then went to the hospital.
Yeah. Went to the hospital. And that's when they told me what was going on. So skip to what happens, because I was ready to pass out moving the truck, and it didn't get no better all day. I was just getting more and more tired. Okay, so let's skip to when my blood pressure shoots up in the 200s, right? Blood pressure is in the 200s. I cold out. I'm a code something, however they do them codes in the hospital to send all of the employees run into the room and they pounce on me and they doing all of the stuff that they doing. And, you know, I just remember being real cold. I was real cold. I didn't think I could get any colder until she put that fan in my face. And that was the coldest I ever been in my life. And yeah, she put the fan there, and I almost wanted her to move it, but it was helping me breathe. So, I couldn't get a full breath. It was broken. My breath was broken in and out. Sucking in, blowing out. It's broken. And yeah, I remember that. Uh, yeah, couldn't breathe. That fan was helping. It was short lived though. It was short lived. Couldn't breathe. Uh, and I remember it just started getting warm. Cold as it was, it started warming up, and it felt good. Like if you jump into a toasty bed or something from coming in out of the rain or something, it just started feeling good. And I'm like, okay, this feels good. And I have been tired all day. I have been dragging all day, feeling what I was feeling all day. And there was no way I was about to get any rest feeling like that. And then I cold out, so that was the height of it. I'm freezing, I'm all cold. I can't stop shaking. I remember I stopped shaking. It felt good. And that was love coming to get me. I got real warm. I felt real good. And like, okay, I'm about to go to sleep. Now, to me, I cozied up and I closed my eyes. And, you know, uh, I feel like I went to sleep. That ain't what happened?
No, not at all.
What happened?
You never closed your eyes.
I never closed my eyes.
They kept trying to give you medication and you kept telling them, get away from me. Because they kept trying to give you the same medication. They said it was for your blood pressure to come down. But every time they would give you the blood pressure medication, your blood pressure would spike.
It went up.
It was going up. You were having a reaction to the blood pressure medication.
Mhm.
And so we finally discussed between me and you when they weren't around that no more blood pressure medication. Because we'll stabilize you and then they give you more blood pressure medication and then it spike again.
Start seeming like they was doing it on
purpose. Not to mention we had already had to pull you out of one hospital because they really was trying to kill you. They weren't doing their job at the other hospital. So I done stole my husband out of one hospital, told him against medical advice and all of that. We done stole him up out of one hospital and took him to another hospital. This is the second hospital we had now that all of this occurred. And the crash team had came in. You know, it was that whole team of people, the crash team. They were trying to, give you blood pressure medication. And you were telling them, no, get away from me. I don't want it. And then, so they finally gave up. And they put all of their equipment, they rolled up all their equipment, they turned off the lights, and then they got in a single file line and they walked out of there. And they left you to die.
And I seen that.
They walked out of there and they left you to die.
And I was trying to figure out, if I'm out, how did I see them leave? Because I was telling two stories. I was telling the story of me seeing their backs and their elbows and them pushing their machines out because I saw that. And then it dawned on me later, I was hovering. That's the only way I could have went out and still seen them leave, because I seen them leave. I was hovering. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I remember fighting. I remember fighting for my girls too when I couldn't breathe, when I was having trouble breathing like that. Uh, Fighting for my wife, for my daughter, for my mother, for all the women in my life. I realized right there that I was in charge of y'all, and it was at that moment I knew I had to stay here, and I'm fighting. My breath is broken in and out, but I'm fighting, and I lost. That love and that warmth grew on me so big, and it was just growing and growing and growing. And I'm fighting, saying no, and it just got too big. It got too big and it felt too good. And I remember how selfish it felt to think, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm out of here. And I leaned into it. And I went to sleep. And it just went black. And I'm wide awake. And I'm just sitting there. And that love and that joy is still growing on me. It's getting bigger. The more time go by, that love never stopped growing. It was getting bigger and bigger, and it was just like, it was overwhelming. And it felt so good. And it just kept growing on me. But I'm sitting in the dark and I'm waiting. And then I see the same color as the sky, a blue. It looked like an airplane nose in front of me. And I could see like a half of a sphere in the front of me. And, you know, I could feel that love and that joy is pulling me, you know. It feel like the reason why I'm flying is pulling me. And that's the first thing I see. That's the best way I could describe it. It's like the front of an airplane nose, or like if you on a jet ski or something like that. Right? And it's like that for a while. I'm seeing that. And then I'm able to back out of that. And I see that it's a ball. It's a blue ball. And I'm able to back out of it. And it's like the same view, like if you playing a video game, how you could see yourself from the back and you can guide yourself. That's what it was doing. That's what, and I can see. And I realized that this is me. This is my body. Right? So I pull out of it. I'm a ball and I'm moving, I'm going forward. And I realize I can see from the side also. So I pull out of myself and I go to the side and I'm seeing from the side view now. And I'm doing this. Right? Or let me do it from this side. I'm like that. And I see from the side that I'm going towards something. And it looked like a wall. Right? And it's the same color as me. And I'm going. Right? And that love and that joy is still growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, right? And I'm feeling so good, and I don't want this to ever stop, right? But I'm going, right? And it looked like a big blue wall in front of me. So I come back behind myself, video game view again, and I see that I'm going toward this wall. And I get so close to this wall that I see that it's not a wall at all. It's a whole bunch of blue balls, just like me, right? I'm starting to see them, right? And then they're spreading out. And as they sprinkle out, you know, these are probably people that's probably like in a coma or something. They just stuck on the outside. And I see a few before me. And when they hit into the rest of them, it's like a shock, you know, and I see like two of them hit, and that love and that joy is it's growing, and it's so big, and I'm that close, I'm about to touch it, and if I would have touched it, I don't think I would have came back. I think that would have been it. Uh, you know, if I would have connected, that would have probably been it. You know what I'm saying? Because that would have been like the climax. It would, you know, how it was growing, how that love and that joy, how it was growing. It seemed like it would have just blew up. Boom, you know, the way I seen them hitting, you know, and I get right there, black again. And I'm going through all of this in my conscious mind. The way I'm talking to y'all right now, I'm watching all of this happen to me. And it goes black. I don't hit, but I can still feel that love and that joy is big on me still. But I'm just sitting in the dark and I'm waiting. And I realize I'm in the dark waiting. And then, you know, I'm like, what's the next sight I'm gonna see? You ever seen the I Ain't Mad at You video from Tupac? How you got Red Fox and Billie Holiday and they all singing, they in heaven, they around the piano and all that is cloud. I'm thinking, am I gonna see that? Or am I gonna see the Great Golf Fix? You know what I'm saying? Am I gonna see Luke 16? I'm literally thinking all of this. And then I get sight. Boom. Hospital room. Right? I'm like, oh, I'm back. You know, and I was a little sour a little bit. Like, dang, I'm back here. And when I jumped on the internet and I seen how y'all was praying, and how my wife's stories, what she was saying, I knew that was why I was back. You know, because of all of that love, and you know, uh, upon waking up, that's all I know. I couldn't really speak the way I wanted to, but guess what? I could type. So I'm typing. I'm on Facebook with y'all and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But and then it was a hard night after that. I'm fighting all through the night, trying to, broken breath in and out again. It's trying to pull me out again. I did a whole night like that. And I just remember thinking, life, life, life. And it became clear everything that is life, right? I wanted the sun. I wanted to put my feet in some dirt or grass. I wanted some fresh air. I didn't want to be in that hospital at all. And I was breaking out of there. I was hitting side doors and everything, going going up out of that place, and going into their courtyard and stuff like that, and I kicked them slippers off, and I took them clothes off so that sun could hit my skin. I ain't never done nothing like that in my life, never cared about nothing like that, but I knew it was important, and I put my feet in that grass and in that dirt, and I remember it started energizing me. I remember that's when I started getting some strength back, you know, and I was after that sun. I was thirsty for that sun so bad. I start staring into it. That's when I started sun gazing, and I had talked bad about that, my whole time in the truth. Like, you guys are crazy. It's weird. It seemed like something demonic. But when I was thirsty for everything or anything life, I stared into that sun, and it came in through my eyes, and it was energizing me, and it was bringing me back, and it brought me back, right? And that was the beginning of, me wanting to plant my own food, the importance of vegetation, right? And you know, and that got me back. That got me back. The sun, uh, greenery, dirt, right? And I started making progress. I I still was in there about another 2 weeks. They kept me for another 2 weeks, and then I was able to get out of there. But over these 2 years, more and more has been manifesting, right? When you're there in that realm, uh, all knowledge is known, right? And everything is known. It's a calmness, and it's a security, and we were all the same being in that realm. And guess what? We were love, right? The molecule, you know, I didn't know this when it happened. I didn't know this for a few months, you know. So as time goes, the Most High keeps giving me more and more and more and explaining to me, what my experience was. And I remember that was a big deal when he made it clear that we were love. And that's why we were only one color. I'm going to share some pictures when I can find them. You know, you see like the Milky Way, and you might see a bunch of different colors of dots like that. That's kind of like how it was, but if you see that, you could see that it's different colors, probably about 3, 4, or 5 different colors. We was all like electric sky blue, you know, and I go back to that place. Of course, I had the experience where, we're flying into that force shield or whatever that was. And, you know, of course, we have that. But when I go back there, it's like I just chill and I hover and I soak in everything that's there, you know, and, that happens sometimes. But, you know, uh, I say I'm about a year in. I'm about a year in, and that's when I realized that we were love. And everywhere love is felt, it comes in and out of that place, you know? So, say somebody win the lottery, right? What it takes for them to fill up with that joy and jump up and down, yay! That's what we were. And that's what I felt like. I didn't feel like that. I was that. And everybody else who was there was that. And I could feel love everywhere it was, right? So we are here in this realm. Behind us was the earth, and I could feel that love, right? So I felt y'all love in this realm, praying, and I know y'all was hurt. I know how hurt y'all was. That reached me where I was. You know, some of y'all were losing it, okay? And that shocks me, you know what I mean? I can't say that I'd known that people would have felt like that, you know. So we're here, the earth, the love in the earth is like behind us, and then there was love up top. There was love up there. I could feel the love up there. And that must have been where the Most High is at. The Most High wasn't where we were, but we can feel him and we yearn for him there too. But it's closer than the earth. We're closer to him than the earth, probably because we don't have that flesh, but, and different things just keep being revealed. He'll wake me up one morning and he'll tell me what something else was, or he'll tell me what to say, you know. And I remember, how we versed in the scriptures and we'll get an idea like, oh, okay, and we'll post it, you know. Y'all know I'm the postmaster. I'll post, right? What I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. Now it's different. I think a thought and I go back to that place and I'm in that realm and I feel the Most High's presence, right? And I feel that when I was there was when he told me this. He's not telling me on the day that I think about it. He told me when I was in that realm. And that makes sense, right? Because there's no time in that realm. So if you're there for 1 second, you might as well have been there for a billion years, right? And that's how it is. It's endless, you know. It's endless, and I can tell that so much information was taught, right? And it's all emotion. It just fills you up, right? It just fills me up, and I know everything, and it's going to take time to explain it out, but he gives me the whole situation, boop, and it's there, right? And then I just start chopping it up, step 1, 2, 3, and I could just, so y'all might have remember I posted on Facebook one day, you know matter of fact, let's just go to it. If I could get in here and find it real quick, let me explain to y'all this situation. Right? Don't miss the message, not that one. Love is a literal place, not that one. Dang, how far is it down? I'm a stern father. That's when I came back. Right? Found it. It says the father wants us to relax a little bit. He translated that. He doesn't like that we are more scared of going to hell than we are eager to do the right thing. It's not about the punishment as much as it's about learning decency and order. When he gave me that, it was like, boop, right? One motion. And I filled up with all of that. And then I was able to step by step, you know, the first part, the father wants us to relax. I felt that. It's like I became a part of his heart for a moment, right? And I know that that's how he feels, and he wanted me to say he wanted me to post this, right? He translated that, right? Because I could feel that he did it in my experience when I was in that realm, right? And it's like he feeds things back to me, what he wants me to feel at the moment when I'm feeling it and ready to speak it, right? It's coming from the experience, right? He doesn't like that we are more scared of going to hell, right? We off on that, you know? He never meant for us to be so scared, right? That we can't enjoy him as our father, right? That bothers him, right? When we get all scared, ooh, everything is hell, 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 right? It's not about the punishment, right? He wants us to do the right thing. He wants us to focus more on that. Yeah, we in trouble if we fail, right? But he knows, probably because he knows our beginning and our end. He know it don't kill us, so it probably bothers him to see us spending our life, petrified, right? And that's all translated. I know he feels like that, right? He wants us to be eager to do the right thing. And I can relate to that because we have the same relationship with our children that, he has with us. He's a father, you know, like we are fathers and mothers. And think about that when you're dealing with your child, right? Of course, you will spank them if you need to, but uh sometimes you just want them to get busy and do things. And it's more about getting the task done, you know, than it is about, I'm going to whoop your behind, right? and then they stay stuck in that state. And you over that, right? You over it. The job is done, they did it, blah, blah, but now they're broken, scared, right? I'm teaching Jeremiah, right? And we're dealing with what we dealing with. And, I might get a little loud. Do it like this. No, not like that, like this, And then he does it. And then I go to, high five, and I'm just like, oh. And it just spoils like everything, right? And that's how we're making the Father feel, right? And that's when I came back with that one, right? I'm a stern father is how it starts out, right? I'm a stern father, right? Y'all go catch that one if you got me on Facebook, right? But that's just an example of how he's communicating with me right now, right? And that brings us to the point I want to drive home. Let's go to it. It's Isaiah 65. Isaiah 65 and 21. Let's go to it. We get this typed in KJV. Okay, let's Google that. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, right? And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them, right? So that's what we supposed to be eating, fam. We supposed to be eating our own food, right? We've been the children of Israel and we have been robbed and spoiled, right? That means robbed and spoiled mean they took everything from us, right? And now spoiling us, I mean, you can be spoiled by, okay, now I'm feeding you, right? Like a spoiled child. You get everything you want, right? But you got to ask for it, right? And what is another thing that the Most High calls spoiled? When you leave it, like milk, right? Spoiled milk, right? So they're doing either or, ain't they? Right? They're feeding us everything we get, right? Like Deuteronomy 28:48, right? Hunger, thirst, right? And want of all things, right? Including knowledge of self. We need to know who we are. We need everything, right? But they have to feed us everything we get. That was a curse, family, right? That's one way we could be spoiled. The other way to be spoiled is just to be left to rot, right? And they're doing either or. They're spoiling us, they get mad at us, or whatever happens with us, and they cut our water off, right? And that looks like the ghetto, right? You see, they ain't painted a building, they ain't did nothing. When you in the ghetto, the building's all cracked up, They left us to spoil, right? So upon waking up, that's what the Most High wants us to do. It's not a coincidence that over all of these years, we've been in these concrete jungles, so far away from planting anything and growing anything that we're gonna eat, right? It's a reason why we didn't do that, fam. You know, and it don't even cost a lot of money. We could have been eating good, right? growing and eating our food, our vegetation, right? We should have been doing that, right? And that would have we'd be healthier, we'd be self-sufficient and all of that. It's cheaper, you know, but uh it wasn't time, right? It wasn't time for that. It was time to suffer. So upon us waking up and the pork was just the tip of the iceberg, right? That's just the beginning. But that pork, it led us to reading labels, right? So beyond the pork, what else is in this? It was natural to do that, right? And then you realize how many chemicals is coming in your product, right? One question. What makes any of us think that that's lawful? He articulated that we are sinning when we eat them chemicals. How are we allowing the enemy to whip up a chemical, right? And feed us that? What's the wages of sin? Because them chemicals is killing us. Did you see that? He articulated that, right? Yeah, the wages of sin is death, right? You're going to die. You die from sin. If somebody died, sin was somewhere in the vicinity, right? What shut my kidneys down? All of them toxins, my whole diet. We're not supposed to be eating starch. Do you know anything with starch in it is man-made and not made of the Most High? Anything with starch in it is fake. There's this sugar that come from carbohydrates, of the potatoes, of the pasta, of the rice. Anything that breaks down into that sugar was whipped up in a lab to kill us. Anything that breaks down into that white granulated sugar, it's a chemical. It's not nothing grown. It's not what's coming from the bamboo type sugar cane. It ain't that. It ain't the sugar that they're pulling out of fruit. This white granulated sugar is something different, right? And it's made to kill us, right? And that stuff is coming out of fruit, right? But guess what? It's not going to come out of organic fruit, right? When you get it organic and non-GMO and you pay 3 times the price and all that, you're getting a real product. But I don't trust that either, you know? And I spent some time being okay with that. I go to the organic session. You realize how small it is, and how hard it is to eat like that. You might have to go to 5 stores, to prepare one meal because the organic section is so small, right? But hold on, my mind trying to go. My mind is trying to go, and my mouth is trying to go the other way. Okay, I'm talking about this food, Bronze. We're talking about this food, right? Uh, yeah, everything that sugar is in, uh, you know, and yeah, that stuff is it's we're sinning when we eat that stuff, and yeah, we don't trust them. They're gonna sneak in That's where I was going. They're gonna sneak. How can we trust liars? Can't trust no liar. These people is liars, right? So we can't trust it just because they say it's non-GMO, right? And that it's organic, right? Nah, we gotta leave they whole store alone, right? And then you go in there and everything is in a box and everything is in a bag, right? We're eating toys, right? A lot of this stuff, these chemicals, that's the same thing plastic is, right? That's why your son's plastic Tonka toy don't spoil either, you know. And we're eating this stuff, and it's giving us cancers, you know. And we don't digest it and all of that, and it just finds a corner in our intestines and just stays there and rot, right? Till it turns into a cancer, right? And then start eating us from the inside out. It's time to stop eating that stuff, family. You know, anything that kills you, okay, is a sin. It's a sin when they making it. You know, cursed are the hands that made it, right? And this is what time it is. And this is what I'm coming to tell y'all. You know, it's what I'm coming to tell y'all. Uh, Tap in, right? If you have a land, tap in. I made the email address. It's called Plant Vineyards 144. If you have land, tap in. If you have a backyard, you can grow food, tap in. If you have a patio, you can grow a whole lot of food on your patio. There's things, you know, that stack up. In each stack, you can grow food on it. Layers, layers, layers. So you taking a little bit of space, but you're growing a whole lot of food, right? And you could put 4, 5, 6 of these on your patio and grow food, right? And let's all link in here and do our part, because that's what time it is. We're gonna feed the children of Israel, right? And we're gonna fire these grocery stores, right? We're gonna talk about the meat on another segment, right? Maybe tomorrow, maybe another day, but we're going to go into the meat. The meat is a sin too, right? We're going to get into that, right? If we're going to be eating meat, we need to be feeding our meat, right? It need to be chewing what? What the scripture says it should be chewing. The cud, right? Not the soy that they're feeding these cattle, right? Not the corn, right? That corn is cancerous. That corn is the worst thing you can put in your mouth. And ain't it loaded with starch? But it ain't even the starch I'm talking about. That corn, that GMO corn, right? If you ain't getting it from Gad, you eating cancer corn, okay? But yeah, we're gonna get into that another day. But I need y'all to tap in, and we gonna put our heads together. We're gonna put our coins together. This is for y'all. I'm already doing it, you know. We already out here, you know. I already got these 5 acres. I'm building my first planter box right now. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to start on another one. And I'm going to show y'all my hill pretty soon. I plan to I got a hill that I picked out. And I plan to fill this whole hill up with planter boxes until as long as I live, I'll be adding a planter box to this hill, you know. And I'm gonna be able to feed a lot of people. And let's just start trading among each other like we used to do, and we need to do this in every city and state, right? Everywhere the children of Israel is, we need to be doing this. The more people, the better. The more people you got to move around through, when it's time to get your fruit and your vegetables. And we'll talk about the meat. That's probably going to be exclusive to the people with farms and things like that, but it's a certain way we need to be growing this meat and feeding it and killing it. You can't just kill an animal how you want to and chop it up and eat it. And that's what this earth is doing. They don't care about our law. They don't care about how the Most High told us to do this, right? So when you walk in and you grab this mystery burger, or you sit down at this restaurant for this cheap steak, that they done charged you an arm and a leg for, you know, that they probably didn't cook all the blood out of, and it's a lot of things, it's a lot of ways that they can poison us, you know. How have we let them cook us a meal from behind a wall? We can't see what they doing. How are we allowing them to feed us meat that we don't know how this meat was grown? You know, do you know these chickens? A lot of them they never stood up before, right? How a chicken breast get this big, right? Chicken can't stand up on them feet, right? And it sat there filthy, right? Its whole life, and just big and fat and just, and then they chop that up and sell it to us, and we take it home, and then we wonder why we sick. You know, we wonder why we got asthma. We wonder why our stomach hurt. We wonder why we got all of this inflammation. We wonder why we got diabetes, right? We wonder why we having heart attacks. I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but a lot of the IM have had heart attacks. And I remember a time in the truth where wasn't nothing touching us, right? I was looking around watching everybody die, but these children of Israel in this community wasn't being touched, right? And I remember when that changed, you know. I remember when it changed. I remember when I heard about that first death. And man, they done picked up heavy since then. And now it's no big deal for us to check out. Almost got me, right? And, you know, the Most High, He spared me, right? And He probably started just to take me to, you know, but I don't know. He found it somehow in His will for me to come back and talk this, right? And it probably was the love that y'all prayed with in y'all prayers for Him to spare me. And He said, you know what? I'm not only gonna spare him, I'm gonna send him back, you know, uh with some liberation for y'all and with a plan for y'all, right? Praise the higher, praise His holy name. And this is what time it is, family. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. It might be hard, but I know us. It's gonna be easy for a lot of us, For a lot of us, it's gonna be frustrating, For a lot of us, we gonna say, well, never mind, I'll just buy from the rest of y'all. And that's cool too, you know come go shopping, or go to whoever is in your town gonna be getting busy and go shop over there, But watch, family, watch how healthy we get, watch how these health problems leave us alone, and watch how, I'm gonna tell you one thing. Blessings bring about more blessings, right? So we'll be blessed healing ourselves, But the Most High is going to watch that, and he's going to bless us even harder, right? And this is how we're going to start seeing, these blessings, family, and all of the stuff that this book promised. Okay. He's going to love that. He's going to love that we're doing this. You know, he's very serious about plant vineyards. And we skim over that scripture probably and just keep on going. And he's tired of that, right? It's time to feed ourselves. It's time to become self-sufficient. Okay. This is what time it is. So y'all got the email address, Plant Vineyards 144. Let's put our heads together, and let's figure this out, and let's figure out how to feed our people. That's step one. Okay, that's step number one. We got to get this diseased food out of us, right? And start nourishing ourselves the right way. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is what he wants, y'all. We're gonna go deeper into this. You know, we're not really, doing any teachings yet, but they're about to start flowing. You know, there's precepts, there's things, uh, places and all of this. We're gonna go into, know, this is what time it is, family. Let's get well. Health is wealth. Wealth ain't wealth. Health is wealth, right? Uh-oh. It's giving me that pump warning. We back. It gave me that message that it's about to start tripping. Tap in some sevens if you could hear me. Let me see them sevens. Let me see them perfections. If you could hear me. Praise the higher. We live. Okay. So y'all tap in. Okay. I don't care who you are, tap in. Whatever went on with you, you got to eat, right? Whoever you are, you got to eat, right? Especially if you a child of Israel, you know, the target is on your back, you know. And another thing, a lot of this stuff, it don't harm other people. It's a bio weapon. It's made for us, you know. It's made to take us down. But that's step one, you know. Is getting this going. You could put some seeds in some dirt and be eating it in 3 weeks, right? So if we plant something 1 week, wait a week, plant something else every week, plant, and then it's just gonna start blooming, you know, 1 week at a time, so we dealing with this week, next week that's gonna be ready, right? And everybody who's around here, you know, around the Southern California area, we all gonna take care of each other, you know, uh, get it going again, Central California, Northern California, all the way across the globe, you know what I'm saying? You know, but we coming up on that hour, y'all. 58 minutes, 59. So it's been blessed. The water, y'all, for sitting in and listening. We just bouncing some ideas around. You know, uh, I got the whole vision. He gave me the whole vision. You know what I mean? And we can do this. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Watch, you watch. You know, we're gonna do this because I know you guys ain't gonna keep putting something in your mouth that you know is killing you, right? I know you're not gonna do that. I know there's a part of you that yearns to eat clean food that you grew yourself, right? Or that's coming from this body, right? And anybody who steps in and tries to bother this, I feel sorry for you. Okay? You building for yourself a horrible fate if you come among us playing games. right? So he don't want us worrying about the threat either. He don't care about that, you know. We got an assignment. We got what we got to do. So let's jump on it. I love each and every last one of y'all. You know, shout out to the church and shout out to everybody else who you probably ain't even with the church, right? But you could do this too. And you can buy this vegetation too, right? And you can grow this vegetation too. It's all about, it's up to you how deep you want to go, how deep you want to get into it, right? But this is step one. But I'm gonna catch up with y'all. I am Shalom.